have, okay, thank you. We'll continue to have a number of these webinars to help, they'll be very informative and very useful to our personal and daily lives. Today's webinar will be starting, just like I said in the message, with our ABLE 867 and 868 as I introduced them. So that's our Reverend Yemi Agbelusi and Dr. Dayo Ajibade. Yemi Agbelusi will be taking us largely on conflict resolution and any other useful backup information that we can get from him, while Dr. Ajibade will be telling us more about how well we can live in these older years of our lives. So I think we'll just start and open the floor with Reverend. I think Reverend will have the floor and we can start with you.
Okie dokie, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I'll give it a go. Let me just share my slide. Dayo, I'm unable to share, so you probably share when you come to your turn.
Okay, thank you.
Okie dokie. All right, so welcome everybody. Whether you're in the room or you're going to be watching the recording later, I thank Presido for inviting me to start this knowledge sharing series. I'm sorry, it's in short notice, but I've still put some kind of thoughts together, and I hope they'll be coherent. So I've titled my talk "Peaceful Paths, Conflict, Clarity, and Legacy in Life's Second Half." I've chosen this background because most of us now are retiring. I was in a very thoughtful mood when Ajia, Ushuporu, Abalaka, and Zachary and quite a number of our colleagues retired last year, and sort of put me on notice that we're entering the retirement stage of life, which is quite really something to think about, that those old men were looking at in those days. We're now the old men,
That's true.
and so we're now the old men. Sorry,
Yemi, I thought you were supposed to start with an opening prayer, or did I hear it wrong?
No, that's not a prayer. I'm supposed to start my opening lecture.
Opening lecture. Okay.
He's here as a conflict resolution facilitator. Please.
I may do the prayer later. I pray for Musk and Elon and Donald to come back together again. We did a prayer before we go. All right then. So that's really why I've chosen this talking, so that it's sort of you're my colleagues, you're my classmates, you're my friends, you're my brothers. So just to share thoughts and some examples, and then we'll just take it from there. So welcome all MSc3 classmates, and to put it in context, like I've said, retirement is a new battlefield of purpose, peace, and planning. And George Bernard Shaw said, we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. And so we all basically, I've added the years, but immediately Ara came in. He said, "Is that my staff sergeant?" And I tried to say myself, what does staff sergeant mean anymore? I couldn't remember what it meant. Then I remembered, okay, boy staff sergeant. So really, I think we're really old now. I can't remember what staff sergeant means. But that's just it. Time comes on us, and we just, like trees, we just have plenty of branches, and I've taken off a lot of height, and the days of being boys is getting farther and farther into the recesses of our mind. And so we just need to consciously renew ourselves by joking, laughing, and just making sure that age may come, but we don't have to age. We can remain ever young. So the realities of retirement and of this next phase of life is that there are changes in health, which I won't go into because I have Agola, I have Sosa, I have Dayo, I have a lot of people who are going to deal with that. So I'm not going to talk about that. Changes in identity. Someone was talking some days ago that he used to drive a big Benz past his estate gate, and 4 of the security men will come together and salute him. And then sometime his car went for a fix, and he was driving this small car they use for the children's school runs. And when I got to the estate gate, they didn't even take a second look at him. And they sort of pressed the horn. I said, how are they now? And they said, oh, fine. And they said he should go. Then it dawned on him that they were never saluting him. They were saluting the Benz. And that's the reality, you're a general today, you have a long convoy, and tomorrow you're not, and nobody cares. I was in a lounge some months ago now. I can't remember how long ago, but some months ago, I think it was this year, with an elderly Igbo gentleman, and we're chatting and laughing and everything in the lounge and chatting, and he had coffee, had some tea and everything. When the aircraft was called, we were going, and boom, somebody saluted him and said, who is this guy? And he was the former chief of army staff. I mean, I think it was AJK or something. But I could never have known. It was just an Igbo guy with some Igbo dress and looking very casual. I could never have known. Whereas when he was chief, Abba, I will know. I will know he's chief because the whole ground will be shaking with 150 policemen with guns. But yeah, well, I could have slapped his face and beaten him up in that lounge. And if he couldn't defend himself, nobody would be there to defend him. So anything change comes in retirement. You face reality of life. No more cushy life. No more free light, free NEPA, free security guard, free Batman. Instead of start dealing with things and changing finances. No more envelopes. No more petty cash impress, no more anything. Like people like Ime that get to arrest people and sell the Igbo. You don't have anybody to arrest anymore. So the income dwindles. And so finances change, and you now start having these changes, and you have to cope with it. Because you're going into elderly years. We have shifting roles in family and society. If you are a young guy in the family now, you're becoming the family head. Your other brother has died, your sister has moved to somewhere, and wherever you are now, you're the one taking decisions. Somebody wants to get married, asking you, I want to bring my fiancée to you, and I'm wondering, who am I? But there you are, you're the oldest in the family. You're not the baba. And some becoming grandparents, some becoming different things. Society is also looking up to you, taking chief's title. You're becoming senators, different things. Chairman of boards, invited to different places. And so it's a time to reflect and redefine your purpose so that you are intentional in going to that stage of life. It doesn't just happen to you as accident. You actually prepare for it and walk into it. So in later life, I also find, at least from my point of view, which is my specialty, that there are many conflicts that come into this stage of life. Again, because of the changes, the transformation in life, the loss of identity and status, the new realities. People have, marital tensions, family disagreements, community clashes, ego clashes, etc. And you'll find that, yeah, if you are not careful, you're fighting people around you. So daddy is always in Abuja having meetings where the family is in Calabar having a nice time with mommy and the kids. And daddy is retired, he's now in Calabar with us. So we see daddy like 6 times a year. When he comes in, he comes with a fat envelope. He buys gifts for everybody. We welcome him, we love him, we hug him. He's home for 3 weeks. We can manage him and he goes away. We don't see him again for under 3 months. Now daddy is home permanently. We can't really accept that. Suddenly daddy started to see things he wasn't seeing those 3 or 4 days of coming home. You don't wash your clothes, you don't clean your room. You go out late, maybe you're smoking, maybe you're using pornography. That is noticing things he wasn't noticing that 3 weeks. So there's so much family tension. And even a wife goes out and comes in anytime she likes. She's in church today, she's in that program tomorrow, their friend's birthday. Now the husband asking, where are you going? He's like, why are you asking where am I going? Well, you're not here, but I'm not going out. So a lot of family tension comes in, family disagreement comes in. And then, of course, your egos, like I said, nobody's saluting you anymore, nobody's remembering you anymore. If people call you, are calling you because they want help, not because they love you or they want to check on you. So you sort of have a lot of clutches around you. And if you don't resolve these conflicts, it takes an emotional and physical toll on you because it creates stress. And stress is a trigger for many other psychological diseases. Again, I won't go into the realm of health. I'll leave that for the health practitioners to talk about. So unresolved conflicts brings emotional and physical stress. And there's a huge cost to it. And in later life, I think it's, even if you take anything from this talk, avoid it. So let's take a case study of General A. Not General Ajibade anyway. So he has a property dispute with his children, and the root cause is really because he had too many assumptions and poor communication. And before you knew it, there were legal battles, there was a lot of emotional stress and breakdown, and he couldn't resolve it. The children wanted him to sell the house so that could pay their school fees and give them a good education. He felt was retired and needed to stay in that big house. Kids said, look, why are you in a 7-bedroom house in Ikeja GRA? You can as well take a smaller house and move to Shonibare or move to Magodo, and then use that money to pay for our education rather than, just put us through life like this. We don't want to inherit a 7-bedroom house. And everything broke down. The wife supported the children. The house was in the wife's name. So the wife tried to leverage the property. He had an equitable interest. He went to court challenging the sale. And before you knew it, his children were against him with the wife. They were telling their mother to pack out and they will evict him. And he was here, old. He felt that, look, should I lose the house and lose my children? Or do I keep the house and lose my children and my wife? He was just sort of caught off in those things. But what was the real issue here? The real issue was that there was no dialogue. There was nobody trying to find a common interest. If you look at it, there was a common ground for the family getting their children having good education, good accommodation for the parents, and better financial prosperity. The children felt, look, this 7-bedroom house, you don't want to have a co-tenant, you want to live there alone. The property in this area has gone up. You can sell it, take an equity, move to a smaller place, put some money in shares, put some money in fixed deposits, pay our school fees, and our mother will live well. Look, you don't have a good car. But he said, no, I can't sell my house. This is my first house. I built this house as a general. I must live here. Blah, 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 blah. Can I go and live in Magodo? Where people come mention and corner living. I'm a general. I can't live in a smaller house. And he said, we all live abroad. We don't come home. Who's in a 7-bedroom house? Half of the year is locked up. And the whole family was in distress. What was the problem? We could have a good dialogue. So at the end of the day, family broke apart. The wife left. The children left. He was stuck. And there we are. He's in his old age. He's in his retirement. He's lonely. He's sad. And he's in a big 7-bedroom house. So we need to learn from that. So again, just to point out some things in terms of conflicts coming into our lives, especially in old age, we have to look at alternate ways of resolving disputes. So I always tell people that I like litigation. Litigation is very good. When there's an issue, you go to court, give it to a judge and resolve it for you. The problem it has is that it takes time, and then the judge does not decide on emotions or equity, it decides on facts and law. And so with any technical reason, you don't get a favorable judgment. And in any case, the judge, by law, has to decide between the parties' arguments on the merits. So there will be a winner and a loser. Now, in most civil cases, it's on the bounds of probabilities. So it's not like the criminal case where you have beyond reasonable doubt. In civil cases, it simply means you tell your story, I tell my story, the judge prefers one story. That's all. And you cannot ask him why he prefers it. So on the preponderance of evidence, the judge says, well, I believe that this man owns the house, and I hereby order that the wife should pack out and leave the property to him. Bam, that's all. The wife can say, oh, I think the woman has put more money into the house than the man. That's all. So the binary judgments don't resolve the real disputes. They don't resolve the issues. So alternate dispute resolution, which is ADR, or appropriate dispute resolution rather, which is more apt, is looking at ways of using mediation, whereby the problem in a family, problem in a business, problem in a company, company with workers, you bring in a third party neutral, it facilitates a dialogue and negotiation between parties and comes to a final agreement that is binding. Again, if that doesn't work, if a commercial dispute, can submit it to an arbitrator who writes a final decision based on the arguments of the parties after they've presented their evidence and their cases before him. And that resolves the dispute. And that can be done in as little as 60 days to 1 year. Unlike going to court where you're spending between 5, 7, 10 years on a dispute. I know a family who I did a matter for them about 7 years ago, issues in their family. They couldn't resolve them to court. It's now 9 years and they're still in court. Again, one of the oldest cases in Lagos State, which I resolved a few years ago, was a 39-year-old case, which I went to the Supreme Court and back. And 11 parties, by the time I resolved the dispute, only 5 were alive, 6 were dead. And basically, it was, again, horrible. A man had bought a property in Ikoyi, 6-bedroom, six flats in his girlfriend's name. At that time, he was a civil servant, the PAMSEC. She was a secretary. She went back to her country, Cameroon, and he remained in Lagos, retired from civil service and moved to one of the flats. And then she died in Cameroon years later and gave the property to her 2 sons, who are his sons anyway, his 2 sons. But his sons now came to Nigeria to evict him from the property. And the man said, are you crazy? It's my property. He said, no, it's my mom's own. So what work your mother did to buy 6 flats in Ikoyi? Anyway, like it was a joke, he took the boys to court. And after the high court, about 7 years, he lost. Maybe he had his wife and his children with him, or other children anyway. He went to the Court of Appeal, By which time he died, his wife becomes substituted claimant, and other people are joining, his sisters, his family, and everybody was there. Boom, he lost again. After about another 9 years, they will proceed to Supreme Court, and then we get a final verdict from Supreme Court. He lost. So now we spent 37 years, and he has lost at the 3-4. So the two boys now came and said, "Oh yeah," to their brothers and their sisters. They had 2 brothers and 2 sisters. One was late in the property. Now all of you move out, and all the tenants should move out. The 2 boys now said, "What can we do?" They got to another lawyer again. And they went back to court again, challenging the will that their mother gave them the property. And the will was not properly signed, it was a forged signature, and that that it was not properly passed through probate and the LA obtained. And that even an LA, a letter of administration from a court in Cameroon cannot suffice to take the property in Nigeria because they're different jurisdictions. So now they're back in court again. After 4 years, now I meet them. Now 39 years. The youngest son is 40. He has been in court 39 years of his life with this. So I finally resolved the dispute. We sold the property in Ikoyi for, I think, 1.2 billion. Gave the lawyers 100 million each. They gave them nominal rent of 1 million per annum for 39 years. And then we shared the property 60-40.
And you collected your commission.
And that's not part of the game. So that's I mean, I just look at what 39 years, and I remember the young boy, he hugged me and said, "Dr. Belusi, you gave me back my life. For 39 years, I've been living in Ikoyi, but I'm not really living in Ikoyi because property was already, under court orders. I didn't finish my school. I'm a dropout. Not able to get married. I don't have a stable girlfriend. I don't have anything. My life is just been in flux. Now I'm going to get this money I'm getting. I'm going to go to Ajah or somewhere or Abaramadi somewhere, buy a house, finish my school, and start my life." So that's what the litigation does. So that family could have brought in a mediator, had a family conference, or just done some negotiation and solved that problem. The father could have told the sons, "Okay, let me live in this house until I die, or take 2 flats," but they could have done it better than going to court for 40 years and then everybody dies and nobody is happy. End of the day, the property is still sold. So the quality of our life depends not on whether we have conflicts, but how we respond to them. And I think it's always good that you have somebody advise you that when there's a conflict, what is the best tool for it? So if somebody beats you up and slaps you and locks you in a police cell for 21 days, and then it damages your car, I would say you can't go and mediate or arbitrate. You're going to go to court. That's a constitutional matter. So, or you are unlawfully detained. You can't negotiate that. You're going to go to court to get a court order to get yourself produced and released from the detention. But if somebody is trespassing your land, he has moved your fence, he has hit your car, and you want to run to court, it's as if or he's owing you money, all kind of things, and you want to go to court. Why would somebody owe you 1 million naira, you take him to court and you're in court for the next 8 years? When he finally gets order to pay you, maybe has even the company has been liquidated or is bankrupt or is even jackpot, or I mean, what would be the point of that? Negotiate with him, he gives you 500,000 in 4 installments, and you walk away and you're happy and take the hit. So let people give you advice as to how to resolve conflicts. So as a retiree, make sure that you look at alternative ways of resolving disputes. Litigation should be a last option. Whether you have your tenants, whether you have invested money with some business people, whether you have you've bought shares in a company on trust while you were in service, now you're coming out and the people are trying to edge you out and just play games with you and all of that. Look for alternative ways of resolving disputes because it's confidential and private. We won't hear about you. You know the general who left property for his wife and they've been in court. I think it was a Major General. I mean, I think the matter is now in court of appeal. I mean, such a mess. And look how the property was listed against him, about 31 properties. All those things could have been done if there was something more apt and putting his dirty linen in public after he had died. So, altering dispute resolution is confidential and private. It preserves relationships by letting parties take a decision, come to that conclusion, and try to move forward. It's not that there's a winner or a loser, but they win some, lose some, and then sort of come to some middle ground and compromise. It's faster and cheaper than the court, and it's less stressful and more empowering because people actually cry, they're angry, they ventilate, and then they sort of calm down and they sort of come to some conclusion. So it's good in retirement that we'll do that. Again, it's important that we also have some emotional intelligence as we grow older, which means that we should recognize, understand, and manage our emotions. I was in the club this afternoon and I was having lunch and I just saw this old man having an argument with one of the young ladies who was serving. And I look at all his white hair, I look at the young girl, and I thought to myself, why is this man embarrassing himself? I don't know who he is, But you know, I mean, if the lady is not answering you, there are like 12 waiters. Call somebody else and just pass her away. Why are you having a tiff with a girl if he insults you? I mean, what's all of that? And his wife was sitting next to him. So I just felt even disrespecting your wife, fighting this young girl because she didn't bring your rice on time, or she didn't bring your amala before you when you ordered it, or she's asking somebody else. You know, so once you get older and mature, you know, people offend you. Your driver comes late. Your security guard is sleeping. You go to the bank, somebody jumps the queue or at the ATM machine. All these things happen, but because of your maturity, your white hair, your age, you need to recognize and manage your emotions. So you need to be self-aware of what am I feeling today, you know, because again, I don't want to go into the realm of health, but women have menopause, men have andropause. You need to know that your emotions are upset, your body is telling you things you don't understand, your back is aching you. I was playing golf today and boom, my leg just had a muscle pull for no reason. I've been nursing that all day. That's just age. I mean, I was telling my friend sometime that I can't do 40 push-ups again. I think I do 25, 30. I'm tired. I still do 25. You decrease. Which is what I can do. Like, I can't even do 5. But I thought I still going to do 40 push-ups. But there we are. So you need to be self-aware. You need to be aware of your health, aware of who you are, aware of what you're going through, aware of your age. You know your age, act your age, self-regulate, you know, control your temper, you know, and most importantly, show empathy for people, show understanding for people. People are going through a lot. So your driver takes your change, he doesn't buy the correct fuel. Don't lock him up in the guard room and beat him and lock him and handcuff him and all those things because he took 1,000 naira. Know where it's coming from. No, the economy is hard. No, things are tough. No, so your tailor doesn't bring your clothes on time, then you start slapping him and beating him. There's no point. I mean, you have many other clothes in your wardrobe. Where are your other things? You know, so it's a time for you to start having what you call social skills or interpersonal skills. Managing relationships, your neighbors, your neighbors. Your neighbor is having a party, you have a horn, you go and move the NEPA lights, you go and remove the meter. No, all sort of, no, just causing trouble and conflict around your environment. No, show some have interpersonal skills. Let your neighbors have a good rapport with people. Your watchman, your plumber, your mechanic, your doctor, all those people that come along your path in life. Your account officer, talk to them with respect. Give them gifts. Call them up. Give them good messages. Pray for them. Support them. It's time for you now. This time to have some emotional management because you know that the opposite of that is conflict, which you know that will tell on your age. And so you don't want. I remember an old man, God rest his soul. He asked his son. His son was not well. I won't say my friend, but my acquaintance. They bought him food. I think it was amala and ewedu. I was about to start eating, and then NEPA took light. So he told his son to come put on generator, waiting for the light to come on before he starts eating. I don't know whether I couldn't find a way to his mouth. Maybe as an ex-boy, we can do that easily anyway. So he was sitting down there, and the guy was wasting time with the generator. So he got on his stick and was shouting on the boy, "You bastard! Where are you? Come on with the light! Come on, why are you wasting time? What are you doing there?" Shouting there, shouting there, shouting there. Yeah, they had attack further and he died. That was the end. He lived in Ogba. And the children were saying, well, he had been shouting all his life. He shouted himself to death. The wife said, look at him. Shout, and he shouted and killed himself because of Amala. So that's not something I want any of my colleagues or my classmates to go through. I mean, it could have basically just waited for that food or gone down to the generator to check what's going on. I mean, that would have definitely be an issue that the son would not have maliciously or willfully or negligently not put on the generator, knowing that the was about to eat. So it should have been a bit more self-regulated. And many of us at this time need to do that. So types of maturity, anger management, very important at this age, at this time of our life, as we're going into 50s and above. Just don't get angry. In traffic, what will you look like? You see Suki beating up somebody by the roadside. When I was younger, I remember after we left military school and I started driving, I used to have a koboko on my dashboard. Normal Expo. I had a koboko on my beret on my dashboard. No, I don't want to imagine having a koboko in my car. Why would I have a koboko in my car? Why would you flog with it? Why would I flog anybody with the koboko? Who am I to flog? That's assault. Why would I eat anybody? But at that point in time, you wanted to flog policemen, flog people at checkpoints. Now with your white hair, any checkpoint you get to, when you smile at them, they will simply give you your respect. So manage your anger in traffic, on the road, in shops. People will stimulate you and provoke you. They whine you every time. That's sort of manage yourself. In a restaurant, they don't serve you on time. Get up and go out. Go somewhere else and buy food. Don't fight anybody. Don't just get a bad name. After all, they say it's only because if you got food is shouting. So you don't want all those embarrassments. Choice of words, very important. I have an argument with Ajibade, I have an argument with Mamudu, and I'm using all kinds of words. You idiot. And all that. At this age, you should have some choice of some what do you call it, decorum. You can fight, you can be disagreeable without, I don't know how to say it. Maybe for the all those English people help me. You can disagree without being disagreeable. Yes, I got it. Yes. You can disagree without being disagreeable. You don't have to use bad language. Nafuta, you're an idiot. This one. And then you're a dog. This age. Let all those things go. Say, boss, I'm not feeling you. These things you are doing. Start using some kind of mature language, choosing your words so that sort of have some respect for yourself. Have self-control. Even when people provoke you, you don't have to respond immediately. You can choose to wait and then respond later. If somebody gives you a jibe today, the world is not coming to an end. You can reply him tomorrow. I haven't thought carefully about what you want to say. So your response should have wisdom, should be calm, should be tactful, and you should choose relationships over winning. If I insult everybody on the NM83 group and I exit the group, okay, so where am I going to join? NM84 or NM82? Where am I exiting to? So when you are getting angry at this age and you're walking out exiting the group, I'm exiting the group. I'm really wondering where you exiting to? It's too late to exit. We've come too far. So at this time, you should just sort of say, "Oh, I'm angry. I don't like this. Let's go reach out to you. Definitely, you calm down. I mean, let's doesn't matter who won. Doesn't matter who apologize. Just choose relationships. They are more valuable than winning. And then also make sure that
what if ESCO is the problem? Because most of the time, that ESCO is my own personal problem.
Wait the question time. Wait the question time, Ara.
Ara's body they hot.
So wait for, make sure that your counterparty is pacified. If there's an argument, there's a disagreement, there's something you're not happy about, make sure that the aim of it is, first of all, I want to preserve my friendship. I want it to be a learning experience. I want to grow with it. And most importantly, I want to communicate to that person without, damaging the threads of relationship or even other relationships. So, like I said, you can disagree without being disagreeable. So positive communication is very important. Speak to be heard, not to hurt. You don't want to let what is lurking in your mind, maybe Ajibade stole your Nido and Gary 40 years ago. I mean, waiting to tell him he's a thief. So suddenly he's talking now, and then 40 years later, you just go bang, you stupid thief. I guess wondering from where to where. Don't just want to hurt people and still let things go. If there's something wrong, say what is wrong. Say how you feel. Say when you posted that thing, I just felt that was a shame on you posting our soldiers being beheaded. It was very revolting. You should have warned us. And I felt that was not the right thing to post on this forum. Something like that. And then the person also should be mature enough to say, "Oh, I'm very sorry, I will withdraw it," and all of that. So that's communication positively. No abuse, no insults in communicating. Also, replace blame with responsibility. So don't blame don't blame the ESCO, don't blame somebody, don't blame. Let everyone takes responsibility, and then say I feel instead of you always. I feel bad when you do this. It's better than saying you always. So don't tell your children you're always sleeping, you're always asking for money. Just say, look, I feel overwhelmed, I feel pressured when you ask for money, in short intervals. That's positive communication. So you always ask for money, you're always calling for money. Then the person sort of feels, well, who should I call? Should I go do prostitution? Shouldn't I call my dad? Am I supposed to be a thief or a robber or do Yahoo? So you just say how you feel. I feel overwhelmed. I feel sad. I feel pressured. I feel unappreciated. Say it rather than saying you always. And then it's time to also use a lot of open-ended questions. Trying to explore relationships. How? Tell me more. I want to know. How are you doing? When you have phone calls with your children, with people, try and just, be open-ended so they can talk to you and you can hear what they have to say. So nonviolent communication means that we observe without judging. If I say, he drinks a lot, or he drinks a lot, that's an observation. He's a drunkard, is a judgment. I hope you get that simple example. He drinks a lot. He appears he drinks a lot. But I've seen him drinking a lot. Observation. You can't blame me for that. Observation. Or if I say, Ahmed, you drink a lot. I see you drinking a lot. That's observation. But if I say, Ahmed, you're a drunkard, you don't say who's a drunkard. Then we'll start the trouble from there. So when you're trying to communicate, try to put down your observations, reserve your judgments. Because you ask people to say, oh, well, why do you drink a lot? I have like 2 bottles of beer a day. That's a lot. So yeah, you can have a conversation about that. But if you say I'm a drunkard, would you rather punch you, slap you, or just take it from there? Again, feelings. Express how you feel. Don't hide your feelings. It's the way I feel. Or don't say you make me or you always make. Just say how you feel. Then your needs. Identify the needs behind the feelings. I feel unappreciated because you always call me when you need money. So say that I would like you to call me sometimes just to greet me without any request. So that's a more positive way of putting your request forward. So example, when you interrupt me, I feel unheard. I need respect. Could you let me finish? When you start talking like that, that's positive, that's non-violent. People tend to calm down, listen to you, and give you the respect, which is what you really want. So instead of blaming, you don't respect me, you can use a non-violent communication by saying, when you walk out while I speak, I feel hurt. That's non-violent. Or criticism, you are lazy. That's a judgment. Non-violent communication, it says, I feel frustrated when your chores are not done because I need your support. That's the communication. So all of us should think about, one way that we have used violent words which have hurt people and think of how we can do something better. So understand your conflict style also. Some people, when they see conflict, they avoid it, so they withdraw from it. Some accommodate, they yield to other people, they don't like trouble, they go with the flow. Some are competitive, they want to push their agenda and get their way. Some are compromising, they both give a little and take a little. Some are collaborative, they want to seek a win-win. I think the best is either collaborating or at least a compromise. But you should ask yourself, what's my default style? Because if you are a competitive person pushing your agenda, you want to have the last word, or you sort of withdraw from conflict, you keep it latent, eventually it busts out, and then you say, you've always been telling me these things, and then you are wondering, where are you coming from? But I've been watching you since. Why are you watching me? Why didn't you tell me what I did? So basically, avoiding, accommodating, competing sort of cause more conflict. But if you are able to use compromise, give a little sometimes, or collaborate, have a negotiation, discussion, and then seek a win-win instead of better as you go older. So compromise isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And as you get older, you have to compromise with family. Your kids say that they won't talk to you. When you're younger, you used to talk to them. Now you say that they won't talk to you. Daddy, what you're doing yesterday, Daddy, and then you say, oh, I'm sorry. So if you want to still be a lord or lord and master in this age, your children are now going to age 25, age 27. They're no more kids, they're adults. Maybe they have kids of their own. You have to compromise with them, your relationships. And for your future peace, it's good to have compromise with your classmates, with everybody. In marriage and in war, you don't win by being right. You win by staying together. So marriage and relationships are infinite battles that have no end. So if there's no end to it, then the win is staying together. So we have to do that. So what's to ask yourself is, what's most important to me, the issue or the relationship? Before you even speak, let that be your filter. Soki annoys you. Before you address Soki, ask yourself first, is it the issue I want to push to that's important to me or our relationship? So once you have that filter done, then your communication takes dressing from that. So Colonel B and Colonel D had conflict over a business deal. When they were young officers in Jaji, they had done some business together and done some land. And Colonel D felt that Colonel B had cheated him and sort of played the fast one on him. So for 10 years, they had no communication. They were fighting each other. Families who were very close before were now separated. Even their parents, who knew they were very close friends, were like twins. Their parents had to stop talking because the kids are no longer talking. Everybody, sort of lost touch with each other. But a colleague of theirs, a bit senior, just a rank senior, realized this relationship and said, why are these people fighting? He called them in, sat them down, ironed out all the issues, cleared all the assumptions, got the apologies, and there was reconciliation. And as a result, their families were healed again, their children, their parents, their friends, everybody was, even their colleagues were healed again, and the legacy of their friendship was preserved. such that by the time Colonel B eventually passed away, it was Colonel D who gave the oration and organized the funeral. So this is really where we should go into in the thing of our life. We should not be carrying baggages that are unnecessary. Again, I also just wanted to throw this in a bit of legal awareness, because peace without justice and law is sort of a problem. So at this time of your life, have a will. If you are 50 now, definitely you have to have a will. Clarify your titles and who is getting what and who is going to what. Especially, if you have any health challenges, like diabetes, high blood pressure, or any disease that can sort of cut life short. I pray God gives us a long life. But just make sure that you are prepared for your end. The end is inevitable. I lost 2 friends this week, and one was 61, the other one was, I think, 57. They both died in just a matter of 2 hours. That's just life. I get to that age where our colleagues will die and everything. So just sort of make sure that you have a will, you've done probate, you filed it properly, there's a lawyer who has been briefed, how you want to be buried, where you want to be buried, how you want the service to be, and what role everybody should play. So and then check your next of kin, check your get those who have power of attorney in case there's any, you have a car accident, or like Tayo will talk about, if you lose your senses or you have dementia, those who will be able to administer your estate, put things in place. And if you have a blended family, so that you have 2, 3, 4 wives, or you have a wife and children outside, or you have a wife and 2 girls have a child for you, whatever it is, whatever your limited situation, that's your past. And your past is past. Your future is what is important. So prepare for the future. Settle legal affairs and make sure that everybody, either by life insurance or by whatever, has the future clearly defined. Martin Luther King said, injustice anyway is a threat to justice everywhere. If you don't take care of your final affairs, people will take care of it the way that seems best to them. And most times, in my experience, it lasts forever in court and there's no positive outcome. It's time for you to also build relationships and seek mental health. Stay connected with old friends, community groups. Don't go there to go and fight. Go there to go and engage. Be quick to apologize, like I mentioned, quick to forgive, quick to laugh, quick to connect, quick to share, quick to give. Deal with integrity. It's not at this age now that David should borrow me money and I don't want to pay him back. You need at this point in time to be honest. Because I can pay him back, then I can get the money from him again. Because my pool of people who can lend me money are getting smaller and smaller. Because they're all getting out of job now and into retirement. And I won't be borrowing my retirement fund and then I'll go hungry. So it's time to have integrity and honesty. If I tell Sokeep borrow me $100 for 1 week, I should give him back after 1 week so I can get it again. But if this time I want to be saying, are we not classmates? I can't even forgive. I'm not a big boy. Then he won't give me again. And like, when I really need it, maybe like the boy that cried wolf. When the wolf now came, nobody answered him, and the wolf chopped him. So be honest at this age, have integrity, and most importantly, respect people, respect yourself. Be respectful of everybody, respect people's boundaries. Don't just say anything, don't do anything. We may have entered school together, we may have gone through life together, but we're not even not equal. Some of us have access to privilege. Some of us have been in NSA's office. Some of them have been chief of naval staff. Some of us have been head of hospital. Some of them have been directors. I think one of us became a PAMSEC last week. So people have different stations in life. So the fact that we all wore the same uniform at one point in time doesn't make us equal. Many of my colleagues, I call them sir. Don't take it out of me. I use sir for them because they were my colleagues. But today I feel that they may be more positive roles. So I will address my son. Doesn't take anything out of me. Doesn't make me less in any way. Like my late friend Juan will say, if a dwarf wants to give you money and you bend down to collect it, when you stand up, it will not make you become a dwarf. You still be tall, but you have gotten the money you want. So it doesn't take anything out of you to respect people and give honor to whom honor is due. And also the Bible says a cheerful heart is good medicine. So I'm rounding up now. Golden lessons: say sorry a minute, mediate before you litigate, seek alternatives to litigation. If you keep out of the courts at this age, keep out of the courts. Not at this age, you start going to court. You definitely may not see the end of the matter at this age. Maybe even at 25, you can start a court case. But at least if you start a court case today, that matter may not end. At the time gets to Supreme Court, maybe already 80 or 90. I don't know if you live that long. So don't go to court, basically. Settle your matter out of court. You don't have the age and time mileage anymore. Write your will. Grow in emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills. Make people around you, make people feel good when you leave them. Put a smile on people's face. And most importantly, protect your peace because your mental health is priceless. loneliness, depression, all those age. I don't go into medicine because I have doctors who will talk about those things. But this age, those things come up. You become an empty nester, your kids marry and leave the house, your house is empty. You need to protect your peace because your peace is your own. You are the one that has the key. So it's really important for you to do that. So final challenge, a true soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but because he loves what is behind him. And I want us to think about that. That was by G.K. Chesterton. So legacy is not just what you leave, but how you live. And I want to call on all of us to choose peace, wisdom, and love. So call to action points. I must give you action points as a good trainer. Resolve all conflicts, reach out to people. If you have any legal battles or any challenges, speak to a mediator or a lawyer today. Leave a legacy of wisdom. Choose your battles carefully. Manage your resources. Be focused. Not time to have a girlfriend or a Lagos girl or a side chick. This is not the time. You can't afford it anymore. You need to now have your resources well put together and manage until you eat, until you die. It's very Nigeria where we don't have any government benefits. So make sure that anything you have now, no young girl of age, 19, 20, you come take it from you. Buying shoe, paying somebody's rent, buying a girl a car. Hunger will come in the old age and you'll be looking back. The girl will move on. You'll be there. Guard your mental health. Most important. Very, very important. So let's journey together and build a peaceful and purposeful legacy. I'll be happy if everyone wants to share stories or share any comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pastor. That was very, very empowering. I took lots of notes. And yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
If I can just add to paraphrase what the pastor has been saying here, I made some notes and I started to think about some things about military people, such as yourself. One thing that I wrote is power for you guys now lies in peace. Your strength is shown not in domination, but in understanding. So what the pastor said, he said to me, I said, listen first, practice active listening. So paraphrasing is a very important skill to learn. Pastor, I heard you say, etc., etc., etc. It breeds understanding, right? It breeds a lot of like communication back and forth, right? Paraphrasing is a big part of emotional intelligence, EQ over IQ, right? One thing that I wrote again was you have to drop your rank, but you should never drop your respect.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you very
Respect
much.
is mutual, even if you once led troops, your wife or your children or your neighbor, they want to be heard. They don't want to be ruled. They don't want to be commanded. And that goes back to the active listening thing, right? And then that whole thing of Pastor, when we were learning about EQ and IQ, counting to 5 before we speak, especially when we're angry, we just count a little bit. We count and count and count, and then we respond in a calm manner. Arguments are not bad. Quarrels are bad. Arguments are pros and cons. But when we're quarreling, like our elders used to say, people will look at us and say, look at those two madmen shouting at each other. Meanwhile, you're not a mad person, right? And the final thing I want to say, and Pastor, thank you again, is what I wrote is I said, you're no longer wearing the uniform, but your value hasn't retired. So you must now redefine your mission, not based on command, but based on calling. So having that active lifestyle where you plan and execute, right? You wake up, you plan, you execute, just like in the army. Purpose thrives in structure. And that's all I'm going to say for now. Thank you again, Pastor.
Thank you very much. I'm so grateful for that addition. Thank you so much. Anybody can add something? Anybody can say anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that was a very good, well put together, covers all the areas. In fact, this sort of lesson, people should not be getting it at this later stage in their lives. So I encourage you to also, if you can share it with the younger generation, even though it might not make sense until they begin to get older. Well, you find that some of them, it might stick with them. But what you have there is serious wisdom and it's serious information, life lessons condensed within 1 hour. You see what I'm saying? So kudos, well done. I think if you've got younger people, maybe in church or a community to mentor, this is a very good information for them to have. And
Thank
you know
you
the
very
thing about old age, now that we're all approaching that season or time of our lives, it's like it's very far away. It's like it's not going to come. I'm sure you think you see people in their 50s, you're thinking, oh, back in the days when we were younger, and you see people in their 50s, like that's like, that is there, not us, And you remember one of the things you said that, oh, Soki and I were very close. We practically grew up together. I remember when we used to go out driving around, fighting people. You know what you were
And
saying about trying to trying to do macho man on the road and do things like that. So, but it is what it is. But I think this information is actually also very important for the generations that are coming. Thank you very much for that. I was really blessed.
Thank you very much, SBO. Yeah. All right. So I think I'll just invite Ajibade to do his own slides and then we'll sort of wrap up. But it's okay.
Sorry, before Doc comes in, just a quick one. You spoke, like everybody has said, spoke very well today, and it's just a bit sad that a lot of us were not here today to hear all of what you've said, because I can think of so many members of our group, for instance, that really, really, really needed to hear everything you said today. And I noticed you shared the slide on the group, so which is good. I hope they will read it.
I'll put a recording also later.
I hope they will read it. You talked. What piqued me the most was anger management. Recently I was watching a video about a very, very well-known pastor in Nigeria about 3-4 days ago, who of course was driving around the streets of Lagos, somewhere in Lekki, and driving a very luxurious car with a police escort and all that. And there was this young blogger probably just taking a video of a beautiful car just coming along and saying, the way they do, all these young people do in Lagos, doing a video of it, and all of a sudden the pastor was the one driving the car, and he winds down and he points a gun at this blogger and says, stop recording. And personally, I used to be a member of this church some 28, 30, maybe, we're one of the founding members. And in the first 1 or 2 years, I spent less than 2 years in that church. And what took me out of that church was the pastor's anger. So I'm saying almost 25, 26 years ago, I already knew about this anger problem the guy had. And I'm bringing it back to us as a group now. I see a lot of us, having such issues too. Like you said, a lot of people use bad language in the group. You're talking to one person, you're saying you stupid fool, idiot, things like that. Some of us still have these anger issues in us. And I'm thinking, how best, we've done more than talking to these people. We do a lot of talking in the background. I'm sure you all know that, we do a lot of, caressing, trying to, just like you said, it's good to use nice words when you want to tell people, oh, you posted this video might not be right for the group, it might bring out a bit of sentiment and all that. Can you just please help us? We do all that. And you won't believe the kind of response we usually get from these people. Some of them are so, how will I put it, in tune or believe in their way, that their way is the right way, that there's nothing you really want to tell them to make them believe this is wrong. And that's why the next thing you see is, oh, Soki has gone ahead and he has deleted the post. And a sort of set of abuses and all that starts raining on the person who has deleted. But before I do all that, I've already gone to the background and pleaded. I do this with a lot of other people, and I get the best response ever. Oh, so sorry. Oh, I didn't think it would be that bad, but I'll delete it if that's what it means. Some people answer like that, but some very few are just different. So how best do you think, as a resolution expert, how best do you think one can bring people like this to start to reason as people over 50? Like, we're different now. We can't be the same we were in our teens. We can't be behaving the same way we were behaving back in our teens or in our 20s or in our 30s. We're different now. We need to be more matured about everything we do. I don't know. Is there any other way aside just, I don't know, maybe just speaking to people, or, what do you suggest? Because it's a serious issue, especially in our group, really.
Well, honestly, Sogi, from a layman point of view, I would say, look, we are all born with our temperaments, and sometimes, that's just who we are. So if you're choleric and you're a bit over the board, but again, some people have traumas which are not dealt with. A lot of us have PTSD, and I talk to a lot of ex-boys. I deal with PTSD. A lot of people are going through PTSD. Some again have self-image issues and all sort of things, failed expectations in life, and all of that. So like it's a whole we can have a whole talk on anger management. We can have even psychologists handle people. But what I tell people is ultimately you have to take control of yourself. So anybody can tell you take less red meat, take a small less red wine, avoid this, avoid carbohydrates, but it's not going to live with you. You have to self-police, you have to self-regulate. So ultimately, if you know you have anger issues, you need to get yourself checked. Talk to a psychologist, go to a mental health therapist, look for what's the trauma you're responding to, what's the injustice you think is being met out on you. So all of this again coupled with environmental factors, most Nigerians are one trigger away from madness. So a lot of things. So a lot of things. So it really again goes back to being emotionally aware, self-regulating. Knowing that again, like I said, filter your life. Do I want to hurt people or do I want to communicate? Do I want to lose relationships or do I want to win the issues? So it's really maturing. So yes, some people never mature, and we will continue to love them, we continue to bear with them because they are our friends, they are our brothers. We can't do without them. But again, why can't we be like water? As you grow older now, take a new shape. Become a statesman. Become a more responsible man. I cannot imagine Tinubu going on social media and exchanging words with VDM. Donald Trump can do it. I mean, I'm not do with him. But I can't imagine Tinubu doing it. He will send people to do it because he's a statesman. He must relax and say, everybody calm down. But he will not start taking Twitter and answering VDM or doing video with VDM. That will totally denigrate his office. So when you come to this age, know that you have more to lose than any other person. I mean, if you go on the group and you insult everybody and you walk away, yeah, you may look like a tough guy, but tough for who now? All your colleagues are looking at you as if you have no self-regulation, you have no self-respect. And people wonder, how do you live with your family at home and your colleagues are around you? You just put yourself in a very low light. So it's really a lot of things. But we can have talk about it, but everybody really needs to say to themselves, I think now I'm entering a stage of life, I'm getting to that elderly statement, mature age. I should start acting my age. I should start calming down. It's very sad. That little boy that was telling his mommy that time, mommy be coming down, mommy be coming down. I think the woman has eventually died, possibly from high blood pressure. So he was seeing the future, telling her to calm down. Look at the short span of time when she's died out of heart attack. So she didn't calm down, and eventually she died. So all of us need to, and I'm happy that you see that even religious people, judges, policemen, everybody loses their temper. So there's no particular group of people. So soldiers do not say, I'm a soldier, I've been to training. No, everybody has temper. Everybody has temper. It's you that have to control it. And I hope that we just be aware of it. Once you're aware of it, then the journey to recovery starts. Thank you very much, Suki.
I was going to say something, even though I'm not part of your NMS group. I feel like I've even been saying a lot because I found this session quite interesting. What I wanted to suggest is that there's got to be a continuous awareness and learning. So even this thing that you've done, Pastor, I think there should be another session because I think, was this okay? I think it was okay that was saying that even some people that are supposed to be part of these things are not here today. I think this particular session is invaluable, is inexhaustible. Do you understand? Yeah. So every so often, maybe every quarter or every 6 months, this kind of topic needs to resurface itself. Even for those that think they already know, it's like a refresher, if you see what I'm saying. I found it very useful. I was going to come in on like a silence mode, but when you started to talk on different things, I think it's a topic that every single individual would find useful for their life. It's a life this thing. So kudos once again. So, but I think you should bring it back again. That's my suggestion. Yeah.
I wanna second that for Bode and Pastor. You know that you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? So I speak to Soki all the time about PTSD and how all of us in this group, I would say all of us have it. Every single one of us have it. We're just fortunate for some of us to have learned how to manage it in our lives because maybe we've traveled or we had the education to do so. In Nigeria, we do not have that. We've never had those. We had parents who told us, be quiet, you can't be seen, parents that beat us, parents that these things we laugh at now because we're older and we say it shaped us into the men that we are, which is true. But those types of parental or upbringing or schooling is now archaic, right? So teaching this to people that are our age, while it will be hard, it's not impossible. But I think, as Bode said, if we, especially in retirement, get a group together and maybe do conferences for young children and teach Nigerian young children how to self-regulate, how to manage or express their emotions. I think, we will kind of make that little drop in the water that would spread around. And if one or two children learn it and they teach it to one or two children more, eventually we start to see a country that is more emotionally aware, that is more emotionally intelligent, so to speak, and is not so prone to this anger, because anger only comes from misunderstanding. You don't know how to express your emotions, so you say things like, yeah, you're a bastard, you're stupid, things like that. So, Pastor, again, I want to tell, agree with Bode that if you come up, and please reach out to me if you need to, for input to bring these lessons to your group and to the community as large, especially the young people. I'm more than happy to help.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, Reverend. Well, we've been calling him pastor, but he's actually a reverend. Reverends are different. They're Anglican. The pastors are the ones.
I'm very sorry. I can't get over the fact that I knew this man when he was chasing girls in Unilag. It's very.
I'm sure he didn't know it was you.
He didn't know it was me, but it's all good. It's all good.
When we used to cruise in his Opel.
Or the chef with the hat.
Reverend, sir, do you remember those days?
Everybody, please take this turn.
Thank you so much. I don't know if you have any other questions for Reverend. Ahmed was trying to say something. I don't know about ESCO.
Yes, I just noticed that F Company CSM just joined us, and this is the first time I've seen him since the passing of his beloved mother. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of all of us when I say
Yes.
we extend our heartfelt condolences and prayers for God's blessings and support for the family in this difficult time.
Amen.
Thank
Amen.
you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Go ahead, Ahmed. Okay. You're welcome, Mr. Mena.
Thank you, Mr. Presido. It's good to see you guys.
Good to see you again. You've lost weight, though.
Seriously.
But it is well. So, Ahmed, you wanted to ask a question earlier when Reverend was speaking. Something about
no, I was just being a troublemaker. I didn't have a question to ask. I was just
okay.
Sorry, this is not related. Ahmed, where's your glasses? Where are your glasses?
He's trying to feel young.
Abba, where are we? We're all old men. No hiding.
Okay.
I was looking at is this Ahmed's face or is this an avatar or something?
There you go.
Okay. Well, at this point, there are no more questions for Reverend. I think we can now ask our great doctor in the house, Dr. Adedayo. Is it Adedayo? Is Adedayo, right?
Yeah, but Dayo is good.
Dayo, Dr. Dayo Ajibade, all the way from, why do I keep forgetting your location? Is it Atlanta? Baltimore, all the way from Baltimore, USA, to take us on how best to keep our bodies, especially using anger. This anger thing should come into, because like Reverend said, somebody got angry and has lost his life over a small amala, just shouting. And I can relate because sometimes when I shout, I know, I mean, I can shout for like just 5 seconds and the feeling for the next 10 minutes is not a good one. It's so bad. So I try my best never to. In fact, 5 years ago, I could shout maybe like 50 times in a year, but now I try to bring it down to like 3 or 4. This year, maybe once or twice, because I still have very young children. But
the group, I just want to say something. I've witnessed my friends, for instance, we're driving in Lagos at night, and there are construction workers doing construction work on the road. And my friend, because of the go slow, came down and was shouting at the construction workers, just shouting. And I looked at this man, I said, this man must have high blood pressure. I just laughed it off.
10 years ago. Oh my God. Anyway, like we said, we're controlling it. We're doing our best. And in fact, nobody is telling us because the feeling is different in the body these days. So we just have to learn. Telling you, it's no use. It doesn't help at all. So let's welcome Dr. Dayo Ajibade.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Hello. How good to see some faces again after such a long time. I will be rather brief so that we don't take too much time. So about anger, yes, I definitely want to talk about anger a little bit. I understood I was going to be talking about mental health a little bit more and brain health, which is my focus since I've been in the States now about 5 years. And I think this whole idea of mental health and dementia, I know nobody wants to hear about that, but it's becoming a very, very big issue around the world. I don't know if you guys know this, but dementia is the #1 cause of death in the UK, the #2 cause of death in Australia, and it's some people are saying 3, 4, 5 in the US, and this is rising rapidly around the world, especially in third world countries. And I mean, when we're in medical school, dementia used to be a disease of the very, very old, decrepit white person. But now we're finding out that it's even worse among Black people. In fact, Blacks are twice as bad, are twice as likely to have dementia in the US than whites are. And women are twice as likely to have dementia as men are. So we're looking at a tsunami of really, really serious mental health conditions, of which dementia is included. So I want to try and just give a quick overview of some of the things that you as a Black man should be concerned about, and some of the things that you should be aware of. So we're going to try to make it a little tailored towards our own circumstance and experience, so that it will make more sense to you. By the way, Yemi, great job with the presentation, and a lot of it, I concur with all the comments that were made. Is very relevant and valid to what we are dealing with. How is my voice coming across so far?
Very good, very good.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so this is a talk. I give talks throughout the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland. I don't practice in a true sense. However, if people want to take advantage of my services, they sign a waiver and all that, because I'm not licensed to practice in the US. However, I have patients around the world, and of course, in Nigeria as well, where I treat everything from dementia to autism to Parkinson's disease to strokes, people with strokes, and PTSD, by the way. Obviously, being a military person, like Soki mentioned and Yemi mentioned, a lot of our friends are dealing with this. There are some very simple solutions to those things. I tried to do that a lot when I was in Nigeria, but of course, you all know the problems. Well, the problems with trying to get a solution. If it doesn't come with your own money to wet ground, sometimes it doesn't work as well as it should. So that was unfortunate. But there are very simple solutions to PTSD, even those who have had it for a long time. Okay, let's go back. All right. So the obvious truth is that we've lived more years than we are going to live in the future. We've already passed, quote unquote, our prime in that sense. So things tend to go a little bit downhill going forward, unless you know what to do. I have this brief timeline here, right? So let's assume you live to be about 100 years. by midlife is 40. We now know that many of the conditions that lead to dementia, I'm going to define dementia in a little bit. Many of the conditions actually starts before your 40s. So you have in midlife right here. By 25 is when your brain has fully developed. So I like to joke that it's all downhill from there. But there's a lot you can do, obviously, to keep your brain healthy and strong. And I'm going to point out a few of them. So by 80, if we live to be that long, one in two people will have dementia. Maybe not as bad in Nigeria, but in other parts of the Western world, we're seeing it a lot. Menopause is one of the reasons why women have higher rates of dementia, twice as high rate of dementia as men do, because of the hormones. Estrogen is a hormone of the. We tend to equate estrogen with female hormones, but men have estrogen as well. But estrogen is one of the most powerful protectors of the human brain. And what happens is that at menopause, women lose a lot of that estrogen. It plummets. And so that protection is lost. The advantage we men have is that we can convert our testosterone to estrogen. So it gives, and we don't have to go through menopause the way women go through it. Quickly, I just want to mention that the whole thing with brain health, if there's one thing you live with, is that it's all about energy. If your brain is producing enough energy, there are very few conditions that it will succumb to. If it's not producing enough energy, it's subject to a host of things, including dementia, strokes, Parkinson's disease, and so on. And what we know is that in your 20s, you have the highest amount of energy. And as, of course, as you grow older, that energy begins to drop. What we know is that people who have dementia, those energy levels have dropped even faster than normal. And so they find out in their 30s and 40s, their brain is not producing enough energy. There are several reasons for that. I'll show you a few of them. And that is here. I just wanted to quickly just show that here. I think I mixed some of my slides up together, but yes, this is it. If you have your phones with you, I have a QR code where you can download an ebook for free, where I talk about the different things that drain your brain's energy, and I've put them in about 12 different categories. Anybody see anything familiar, or can anybody say a pattern here? I guess no one can. All right.
I.
There you go. I. There you go. Thank you for that. So there's a series of things, and different people are affected by different things. So some people have injury. So injury number 2 there. In fact, let me see if it's okay. So it's not highlighted, but injury refers to both physical trauma and, of course, emotional trauma. So that would include PTSD. What we know is that the injury would be physical trauma, like hitting your head, or the blast injuries that people on deployment on the war front experience. Those loud noises that shake the head up, that you don't think anything is happening, but it's actually causing damage to the brain, because of the repetition over and over and over and over again. What we know is that these minor things, what we would call minor, can actually set up a chain reaction in the brain that continues for decades if it is not well treated and it's not well addressed. And from what I've seen, and I visited 44 and I've been to the Walter Reed Hospital here as well. Unfortunately, they don't take that into account. They just treat with medications. So I focus on understanding what to do to repair the brain, what the brain needs to resuscitate itself. And I look all over the world for specific nutrients that can easily help to restore that brain, restore that damage, and restore the energy levels, and help the brain repair itself. And it is very possible. The brain can repair itself at any age in life. But as we grow older, it's more difficult. So it needs help. And that's where people like me come in. We try to help the brain repair itself. But anyway, so these are the 12 different areas in which that can result in dropping brain energy. And I really emphasize this because everything your brain does, it has to do with energy. I'm going to use this quickly, this slide here. I hope you can see it. On the left side is a picture of the actual brain. On the right side is what they call the synapse. That's where two brain cells come together and they communicate. Nothing, almost nothing, let me put it this way, almost nothing happens in your brain, whether it's thinking or remembering or even regulating your blood flow or your heart rate. Everything is controlled by two cells coming together. Then it's the connection between two cells that affects anything that your brain wants to do. And of course, the brain does a lot of different things. Now, these two cells, there are about 100 trillion of these connections throughout the brain. I don't know who had the time to count that, but that's what they say. And so that's what, I'm not going to try counting it to prove or disprove that. So we'll just accept that as facts. But there are a lot of different connections in the brain. That network, let me go back to it. This network takes up to 60 to 80% of all the energy that goes to the brain. I'm going to say that again. The network that makes your brain work, this whole network of 100 trillion connections, it takes up 60 to 80% of the energy and the glucose that goes to the brain. Now, the brain is about 2% of your body's entire weight. And yet it requires like 25% of the energy that goes to your body. And that includes glucose or oxygen. So, and out of that 20% or 25%, this network requires about 80% of the energy. So this explains a lot. And now let me quickly point out that if you are not getting enough energy for your brain, bad things begin to happen. That's where you hear about the wires crossing, people who have dementia. I have a patient in the UK who is, before we started treating him, he was invalid and had total nursing care. So the nurses would come to his house. The white nurse would come to his house, he would speak Yoruba to her. His wife would come in, he would speak English to her. And then he's watching TV, and then he's reacting to the drama as if they're talking to him. And he starts shouting at the people on the screen. I mean, it sounds funny, but it's not. It's a very serious problem. We have other patients who all of a sudden they don't recognize their wife and they think she's an intruder, and they beat her up. So it's a really serious problem, and I really feel that we need to really get to the bottom of this. So I'm just going to skip now because this takes some time. This is a QR code. If you want to take a quick picture of it, I can get back to it when we're doing the discussion, but you can download the ebook there. So when I talk to the groups I speak to, I talk about what is known as I don't know why this thing is going this way. I talk about keeping your marbles, as I mentioned at the beginning. Yes, so I say there are three things that you want to know and do when it comes to your brain, and everybody should know this, whether you're a child, an adult. I don't care what kind of doctor you are. This is becoming such a major problem around the world that everybody should know about how people should take care of their brains and treat and manage accordingly. So if you picture a castle or a fortress, as you see in front of you here, within the building is the regular activities, the economic activities, political activities, reproductive, that's very important. Reproduction should happen to maintain any kind of society. But then this community has to be protected by walls. And of course, you see the moats around it. Because especially in the good old days, kings used to go out, they used to go to war against each other. And so the protection had to be there, and there should be a standing army to protect and also to fight. So with that in mind, this is the analogy we want to use for where the brain is concerned. Your brain is constantly being assailed, attacked, affected. That's the red arrows on the left side. Every day we're constantly, whether through the air we breathe or the food we eat or whatever, or stress, affecting our brains negatively. Of course, on the right-hand side, the green arrows refer to the good things that will help to strengthen the brain. Those people who eventually succumb to dementia, or whether it's mental health. I'm just using mental dementia as a surrogate now. Any kind of mental health issue, whether it's depression, bipolar depression, psychosis, whatever it is. What happens in the long run is that these people have had either greater attacks or their defenses for their brain have not been adequate. Or number three, when things began to go wrong, let's say they began to forget things, they were not able to control their emotions like before. When things began to go wrong, they did not receive prompt treatment by the medical profession. So so it's either 2 or 3 of these things that eventually lead to dementia. And I try to make it as simple as possible because for the most part, I'm speaking to lay people. So that's a picture of what I'm showing here. So there are greater attacks and fewer defenses, and that's what leads to dementia. So the answer to this is obvious. 1, we want to reduce the attacks. 2, we want to increase defense. And number 3, we want to be intelligent enough so that we can see and recognize when things are going wrong and go for treatment or seek treatment or do something about it before it becomes too bad. Now, from what I've seen, most people simply don't do these things, especially men. We like to live in denial. We feel that it's beyond, it's not my portion. We don't, especially those of us in the military, we don't want that mark against our record. So I'm sure, I think there should be some policy changes where that is concerned. But that is what we have to deal with. So I feel that the more we are able to educate people, so that in their lives, in your own discrete parts of your life, you can know what to do. Because you're not going to go and receive medical attention anyway if you have mental health issues. We know that. I'm not going to. There's no matter of talking that will talk. That will say a military person will go and see the doctor and say I have mental health issues. It's not going to happen. But if we can provide the information, they will know what to do to at least reduce the impact of the mental health issues. And so that's an image of what we want to do. We want to increase support for the brain while decreasing the damage that is happening to it. That's what we do in our practice. But I think a lot of people who don't have access to people like me, there's a lot that you can do. So let's talk about the attacks as we round up. The main attacks on the brain, and there are several, and that's why I point to the Dementia's Dirty Dozen. Depending on your situation in life, you will be affected by one or more of those attacks. But the one that is common across the board, I can tell you this, from having lived in Nigeria and the US now for long periods of time, Black people, we like sugar more than white people do. And we like it big time. And we don't realize, in fact, in the US here, the marketers, the corporations, they target Black people because they know we cannot resist it, whether it's in sodas or cakes or pasta, whatever it is. Anyway, what you want to do is you want to reduce your sugar levels. I have this picture of a teaspoon here of sugar. This amount is the amount that your body is comfortable with. So after a meal of heavy pounded yam, I'm a Nekiti man, I can never get past pounded yam. But a meal of heavy pounded yam, which probably will give you about 20 teaspoons or more of sugar, your body is going to fight to bring it down to a teaspoon. But what happens when you keep on panel beating and pile driving food into the body? After a while, it's not able to do that. So your blood sugar levels will rise. Sugar is particularly damaging to the brain, especially the parts of the brain that deal with memory. So you want to consciously reduce your carbohydrates. You really don't need carbohydrates. You may need protein, you need fats, good fats, but carbohydrates, swallow. You want to constantly reduce that. Number 2, we want to strengthen our defenses. One of the things that stood out to me in the past 20 years I've been studying this, is that there's a specific nutrient. For the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. Usually I like to build the suspense when I'm speaking to my audience. But the nutrient is, they found out that this nutrient can reduce your risk of dementia by as much as 40%. That's 40%. Now, this nutrient is vitamin D. D3. It's one of the cheapest nutrients you can get. When I talk about it, sometimes I'm warned against talking about it. It's almost as if somebody doesn't want people to know about it. But Black people are the most deficient by far of vitamin D. Vitamin D is, I would call it the Voltron of the brain. Is the greatest protector of the brain, one of the greatest. Estrogen, I mentioned estrogen before. But what they found out is that people who are deficient in vitamin D have decreased cognition, decreased memory, decreased ability to control their emotions. These are all things that lead to dementia. So some of you know I have a TV show. I'm always shouting about vitamin D because we Black people, we are very deficient in vitamin D, and we're the ones that run away from the sun the most. I don't know why. But anyway, number 3 is that we need to know our numbers. So you need to know what tests to do and what tests to ask your doctor to. Obviously, vitamin D is one of them. I also talk about tests for sugar, not just for blood sugar, but blood insulin. There are about 7 that I always emphasize for patients. That gives you an idea of what your brain is being exposed to. And of course, I live in Baltimore, so this is where Johns Hopkins is. This is where some of the smartest and the greatest medical institutions on the planet are. But sometimes they don't even check for these tests. They are not even aware of these things. And it's baffling to me, completely baffling to me. It's like, I mean, what are we doing here? But anyway, that's where we are. But I feel I'm very passionate about taking this education, especially to third world countries and to people who don't have access to places like Johns Hopkins, because, like as I said earlier, it's rising rapidly around the country, around the world, and I'm getting more and more calls from Nigeria and to treat their loved ones or family members with dementia. So, but from what I've said, it's quite simple to protect against dementia. The problem is that most people simply do not know, and so they're just constantly doing the things they should not be doing, and then they are not doing the things they should be doing to protect their brains, and so that's why we're seeing this tsunami of brain conditions. And I hope that we can address put an end to this. To round up, anger. All this, one of the problems with things like anger and depression, especially anger, is that anger, yes, it raises blood pressure, but more importantly, it raises certain chemicals that damage. I mean, that's when we talk about persistent anger, especially towards another human being, not towards a policy now, but towards another human being. It raises levels of certain chemicals in the brain that damage the parts of the brain responsible for memory, for judgment, and even for repair, for the production of new brain cells. Those high levels of those chemicals can wreak a lot of havoc. And of course, as the older you get, the less your body is able to withstand the effects of those chemicals. So it's extremely important. And I'm happy that Yemi and other people have been talking about it, because it's very important that we learn how to modulate and control our anger. You don't have to get into every argument or quarrel. You don't have to find the last word. It's just best you just say, oh yeah, okay, fine. Agree to disagree, and walk away. So let's see. So bottom line is that we want to ensure that we go from this, where our brain energy is low, to this, and I can tell you it's quite simple if you follow the right instructions to build the energy. And with that, I'm going to say, yeah, okay, that's it. So I'm going to say thank you, and I'll hand it back to Soki.
Thank you, Doctor. Can I throw some numbers at you guys, because this is what I do for a living for the California Department of. So in California, there are about 200,000 people living with early onset dementia. These are people 45 and below. Okay? 720,000 people 65 and above are living with dementia in California alone. In Los Angeles County, where I am, as of last count, there are about 167,000 people. 177,000 people with dementia that are 55 up to 55 and below. right? 7.3% of individuals that are 45 years old have early onset dementia. This is a big, big problem. We're seeing the numbers skyrocket every day, every single day. It's not, this thing that the doctor talked about is not a joke, right? I can look into the database on Monday and pull up numbers for even Baltimore, for what their drivers, for what their DMV is calculating, for people that they know. These are people that we know, people that have been reported by the system to say, okay, hey, these guys have dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever, some kind of cognitive decline, right? It's a very, very big thing. I'm not a doctor. Obviously, I don't know how to treat this, but from getting reports from doctors, one of the things that they say, doctors will tell me is to combat this dementia, this cognitive decline as you get older, you must always be learning. You must always learn something new. For you military guys, it's an easy thing to do. You're always asked to live outside of your comfort zone when you're in the military. Still keep doing that in your, in your retirement. Pick a book, read a book, something. It's not just scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, right? When we were younger, we used to read a lot of books. At least I used to, and I still do, because I have also found in my life that I'm getting so distracted by just this media of TikTok or Instagram or whatever, just these sound bites that make no sense, and I'm not learning anything. Crossword games, discussion groups like you guys have, WhatsApp groups. That's a great way to kind of practice the mind. The big thing that the doctors tell me is exercise is very, very important. 30 minutes of walking a day can help. A little bit more can also help. And like the Reverend said, and I'm sure the doctor will concur, your social circle matters. It really helps. Adding all these things to your life with the diet and the treatment is very important. And one thing I'll say, which I know for Nigerians is very hard, is that if there's anything you guys take away from these meetings, is to be vulnerable with one another. If you're not vulnerable, you can never be open. There's no shame in asking for help. There's no shame in saying, hey, I have a pain here. I don't know what it is. Like, I need to go and see. So what do you think it is? Can I see somebody? Or something is happening to my head that I don't understand. There's no shame in that. We're conditioned to be men for some reason, right? Which is a very toxic trait that we're starting to discover, is that we want to, it's a stiff upper lip of British mentality because we're colonized by the British. We just want to keep it all inside. No, say it out loud. Say, I'm finding it hard to go to the bathroom at night. Because somebody in the group, like this doctor that we have here, can offer a solution, can make a recommendation that will save your life and give you that opportunity to be with your loved ones that much more. And again, thank you, doctor, for this very enlightening conversation. I've made a lot of notes to think over. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, David, and thanks a lot, doctor. Well, these are very, very pertinent issues, especially in our lives as older ones. So, like everyone has said, these are issues we must take really seriously, and I'm really happy to have been here to at least witness it and hear from the doctor. But there again, I also want to ask, maybe the doctor can help us by, sharing one or two early signs for dementia, and maybe, I don't know, any other dangerous diseases that we might, all be experiencing. Maybe some of us are already experiencing and we don't know. So if there are early signs and what you think we should do as a start for those who have not been doing all these things you talked about. Some of us have tried to reduce our sugars, but of course, like Africans, we still eat a lot of foods that have sugar. So maybe the doctor can just share in a short bit what you think we can do and what are the early signs.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that we're finding out is probably sometimes there could be sleep disturbances. So people are not sleeping as well as they used to. I mean, that's not, everybody has a problem. Like, I'll take that back. One of them is like asking the same question over and over again. Like, you forget that you asked a question and you ask a question again. For some people is they find it difficult. The first sign they notice is that they find it difficult to follow a conversation, or they're in a group of people or with some friends, everybody's cracking jokes and people are talking, and they're not able to follow the conversation. They kind of get lost somewhere along the way, or they feel, and some of these people think that they have hearing problems. So they go and check their hearing. They find out their hearing is okay. And then it's later on that they now do the more elaborate test and they find out that there's something wrong with their brains. There could be others who are like normal, mild-mannered people, and suddenly they find out they are not able to control their emotions like they used to. So, for instance, somebody flies off the handle when his wife says something that otherwise he should just have taken in stride, or vice versa. And then he now starts shouting and getting upset. Those are very early telltale signs. Then there are others who along the way, maybe they're having difficulty just calculating a tip. For instance, I'm in the US, Nigeria, we're not into that tip culture as much. But somebody buys a meal and then he now says, okay, how much is the tip? And he tries to do 10% or 20%, and he finds it difficult to calculate those things, or even just struggling to read like before. So these are small early telltale signs. But of course, the big signs are when the memory begins to be a problem and you're not able to maybe find your way back home when you go to church and then you get lost. So that's when things really get really bad. But early signs will be like things I mentioned. The other question is, what can people do? Yes, David mentioned something about reading. That is good, but if I were to advise people, I would focus more on the nutrients and the things that I try to explain, even though we had a very short time, to explain the things that help to build the brain. We have patients who are extremely well, smart people who are financial juggernauts, doctors, high level professionals who still come down with dementia. So it's not a good. So yes, exercising your brain and doing crossword puzzles is something, but between you and me, those are not the big heavy hitters. They are not as protective against dementia as you may think. And everybody's talking about nice doing crosswords. It's not as effective. The really big hitters are, one, knowing what toxins affect your body and avoiding them, and number two, also providing your brain. I keep on saying this because to me is what has worked in our foundation. I've been doing this now in our foundation. I've been doing it for over 10 years, where all we do for brain damage is just give them the nutrients that their brains need, and the brain is now able to do the work of repairing itself. Of course, different conditions, whether it's PTSD, will need a different set of nutrients. If it's dementia, if it's stroke, and I have patients who have severe strokes who are now walking, but they all need different approaches. But the bottom line is that if you give the brain the building blocks that it needs to repair itself, it will work. It will not work as well if you're just trying to read or trying to have new experiences, because nothing can replace the actual raw materials that the brain needs.
Wow.
So I mentioned vitamin D. I would also mention omega-3s, for instance. Then, and I don't know, there's a whole list of different things like zinc, magnesium, potassium, and certain levels that I'm actually trying to create a formulation that will make it easy for everybody to have it in one bottle rather than having to buy several different things.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't know if there are any other questions for the doctor.
Yep.
I wanted to ask. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Andrew.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Doc, for that very brief but insightful presentation. I know you talked about the sun. Sorry, vitamin D. A very good vitamin that we need for our body, and I also know that the sun is the primary source, probably even the best source, I think. But you said something to the effect that blacks are very deficient in that vitamin, and so I just want to understand if it is a US thing, because I know back home in Africa we have a lot of sun, particularly in Nigeria, and in the UK here, of course, there are some certain seasons that we don't have that much sun. I don't take vitamin D here in the UK. My wife does. I'm not too good at taking drugs, and I'm not sure this is the best time for me to start. So I don't take, even though she wants me to take. So I just want to understand that black thing, whether it's just because of the deficiency of sun in certain parts of the world, and then if it is not, for those of us that are not in Africa, should we be taking vitamin D, or maybe we've had enough of vitamin D from our black skin coming from Nigeria? I think don't store enough vitamin D. I don't know. I don't like taking drugs, I'll be sincere with you. I like the meals, but I just want to hear you, address these issues, and hopefully I can get one or two things from there. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that. That's a great question. It's something I get a lot of the times. The reason that we Black people are deficient in vitamin D is, a couple of reasons. One of them is that our dark skin blocks the sunlight. So the way you make the primary way you make vitamin D, the primary way is by exposing your skin to the sun, not your clothes. It doesn't matter how light your clothes are. It has to be exposure of the no barrier at all, direct exposure to sunlight. Then the skin will now make the vitamin D in your body. If you are not exposing your skin to the sunlight, you are making very little vitamin D. The darker your skin is, the less you make vitamin D. Okay, so you cannot get it from food. Let me take that back. You can get very little from food. So if someone, like you said, you don't like taking medications, I respect that. But first of all, vitamin D is not a medication. It's a supplement. There's a very big difference. I respect that. But I would say this: check if you can. It's easier in the UK. Check your vitamin D levels. There's a certain range, and from what I've seen, most Black people fall outside of that range, especially those who don't know anything about it. And especially those in the winter, because during the winter period, you're not even getting enough sunlight for you to go out in the first place. In Nigeria, you would think that you get enough vitamin D. But I tell you, I was in Abuja, living in Abuja, people are almost fully clad. Their bodies are all covered. So even though the sun is shining fully and brightly, because people are mostly covered up. And again, we Black people don't like exposing. I've seen it now in both the countries. We just don't like exposing our skin to the sunlight. So most people are covered up. So most people will be deficient in vitamin D, even though there's a lot of sunlight in Nigeria. We tested them when I was in Nigeria. We tested them. It doesn't matter. You are feeling the heat, but you're not making vitamin D because you're not exposing your skin to the sunlight. So that's why it's safer to just take the supplements.
Sorry, just a quick one. On that test, vitamin D test, what test is that? Is it just normal vitamin D? Walk into a test, what kind of test is that?
Just ask for vitamin D3, levels of vitamin D3.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And I want to echo what the doctor said. I'm a half white, half black man, and I am deficient in vitamin D. Like, I went to the doctor. They're like, "Dude, you got to take these supplements, man. Eat some vegetables. Take these supplements, especially." So it's a thing with our melanin, sorry, in our skin, that kind of requires a lot of sunlight exposure, and thank God for modern medicine, some pills to just add to that. Thank you, Doctor.
Sure.
Okay.
So, Dio, I wanted to ask Rick, you mentioned omega-3, zinc, vitamin D, and said you were trying to work on a cocktail. So if, for example, you wanted to say, okay, roughly, these are the things that I would advise you to take, besides vitamin D, omega-3, and zinc, what else would you, and how frequently would you advise that the use of those, you said supplements.
Yeah. Every day. These are so. What we found out is that if you really check, in the back, you don't have to check really. I mean, you don't have to dig too far. ChatGPT will tell you that these are things that should be taken on. The recommendation is that these are things that you should take on a daily basis because your body uses them and needs them on a daily basis. It's not just, just take it once a month or whatever it is. These are things that your body has to have. It has to have on a daily basis. And if it doesn't have it, to some degree, you will be breaking down. Now, it's not so obvious because many of us still look and feel okay. But this, you got to realize that this accumulates over time. So that's why the best defense is to, on a daily basis, start taking the different nutrients, whether you feel anything or better or not. And yes, there are a lot of scams that are out there, and they may say this and this amount is in this supplement, and the truth is it's just like a placebo, and there's maybe a sugar pill doesn't really have those things. But I mean, I can help direct you to which ones to get, especially in the US. You can get them on. I mean, we had to look for the right ones on Amazon and then ship them to Nigeria because, as you know, we give a lot of these things out through our foundation. We deal with brain disorders in kids. And so we treat and we give these things out free of charge, and we had to find the right ones that work. So let me tell you the 7 or 8 things that you should be having on a daily basis. Number 1, vitamin D. Number 2, vitamin K2. Number 3, magnesium. Number 4, potassium. Number 5, vitamin B complex. The most important of that B complex, there are about 8 different vitamins, B vitamins. But the most important are B1, B9, which is folate, and B12. How many? So zinc, magnesium, potassium, vitamin B, vitamin C, very important, vitamin K2, and let's see, what's the last one now? I need to take some brain supplements. Oh no, that's it. 7, yeah, 7.
So you said vitamin B, omega-3, zinc, vitamin K2, potassium, B complex, which you broke down to B1, B9, B12, and vitamin C.
Yeah. So there are four vitamins, 3 minerals.
Okay.
And then omega-3 will make it 8 altogether.
Omega-3, okay, yeah.
Then I would add melatonin too for nighttime. People just think think of it as a sleep nutrient, but it's also a very protective antioxidant and helps to detoxify the brain. I take mine at night before I go to bed. This has 270 pills. I got it off Amazon. It costs $9. This can last me almost 6 months. But it's one of the most important things I found out for brain health.
So if there was a cocktail of them that already exists, what would that be? Or what would be the closest to a cocktail that, one-stop shop?
Ahmed, I just haven't seen it. So that's why I'm trying to create. I'm just trying to create it myself. Mm-hmm. Can you help invest in my company to make $1 million? I need $1 million. Ahmed, help me out here.
Maybe what Ahmed is trying to ask is, the likes of the Centrum 50+, do they do the same job?
Yeah, I answered the question. There isn't. I've looked for it. I haven't seen it. That's why I'm trying to create it.
Okay. Yeah,
Centrum doesn't have it.
Dr. David, thank you, sir.
Hey, Steti, how far?
Steti, you're saying that we are black. And consider Soki is very light. I don't.
Andrew Dagoon that is saying I don't think vitamin D. Look at how dark he is.
That is what I'm saying.
Better go and get vitamin D and glucagon.
Maybe we'll just capture Soki and...
Don't worry, I'll just start taking now, taking my wife's own until I'm able to buy.
It's like
that's on a lighter note, Doctor. Thank you. And I think these things that is good that is coming up. And I know before you even left Nigeria, we've had 1 or 2 contacts. I've gotten some things from you. And going forward, as we're aging, some of these things we still need them. I mean, some of these things my wife sent them to me, but I now discovered that I'm not so used to these foreign pills. You know, to me, it's as though it's not gelling with my system. That's why I think, you know. So, but if we have them, at least we could patronize this and so that we can live more healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, bro.
Can I ask a question of the doctor that goes to the heart of the Nigerian matter? Which of these vitamins helps with erections? Because I want to know.
I beg what I talk, Soki won't know. Why Soki?
Because I have found that vitamin D, vitamin E are all part of this cocktail of, you know, good medicine. Is it true that, you know, if we're taking vitamin D or vitamin E or some kind of cocktail of vitamins or supplements, that it will help with erection health as we get older?
For sure. Good question. I remember back in Nigeria, I had this patient who was diabetic. And so we got, there's a formulation that I've been using for the past many years for everything. It's primarily, it's a blood flow. When erection is a blood flow. Erection problems are primarily a blood flow problems for the most part. So this patient had diabetes. I'm going to tell you a quick story, then answer. He had diabetes. He had all kinds of issues, and so he reached out to me. I sent him these things. He was in Lagos at that time, and I didn't hear back from him for a while. And then later on, he sends me an email saying that he wants some more. And then he said his wife asked him to get some more. And then I was like, that's strange. Usually when people ask me for more, they don't mention anything about the wife or the husband. So I called him up and I said, okay, can you explain that? Why is it that your wife wants you to get some more? Well, long story short, the wife was experiencing the best kind of sex in a long, long time. Because clearly part of the issues he had being diabetic is that he also had impotence. He was not even able to have sex because of the effect of the high blood sugar. And so apparently he was helping. His blood pressure was better controlled. His blood sugar was better controlled, and the added advantage obviously was that he was having better sex with his wife, and his wife loved it. So yes, there is there are some formulations, or some of the key things in these formulations, and again, we have them in. I don't know if they're available in Nigeria, but we have them in my clinic in Nigeria. It's called Cardio for Life. Well, this is one of the different ones, and it contains certain proteins like arginine, L-arginine, and L-citrulline. But then there's a whole complex around it to make it work. So it's not just the individual components, but these are amino acids plus a whole lot of other things that specifically target blood flow, especially in the penile region. I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh yeah, it does. So here you guys, you see it now. That's why you have to take your medicine. Don't just take it for Alzheimer's.
Okay, does that answer your question? I'm told the question is for your behalf. Soki, are you okay?
Don't mind some people that are
Baba Beji.
Yes.
Anyway, one sharp up, please.
No. Thank you.
Hello, Doc.
Yes, sir.
I want to add or ask one more thing. I know some of us have this bias towards medication because of the effect it also has on it can also have on our kidneys or special organs. Are we saying supplements don't have same effects with these medications that are harmful to the kidneys?
Yeah, I mean, nothing is 100%, but for the most part, and don't forget, I started this thing working with very fragile children. So everything that we're using now for adults, we started using them on children. And the success was so significant and remarkable then that we were like, ah. So when we started having adults coming to us with strokes and dementia, we basically applied the same things that we had used in these children to adults. And so for the most part, I mean, I can only talk about the things that I use. For the most part, they're very, very safe. Of course, nothing is 100%. There's no such thing as 100% safe. Even water can be dangerous if you take it too much. But for the most part, they're quite safe.
Okay, great.
So,
Agola, I think Agola wanted to say something.
I've said it. There's nothing why that I know why Dio was asking the man. Why is his wife asking?
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for Doc?
yeah, Doc,
Yes,
a
sir.
very quick one. Besides, okay, first things first. Oga Ishaya, I beg my condolences once again. Then to Doc, before we get the supplements, you mentioned skinny dipping in the sun and the rest, and the so many supplements that you mentioned. Before we get the supplements, what are the foods? When I say foods, I mean foods that are native to us in Africa that you suggest we eat that will do us a whole lot of good.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Ime. I'm going to be frank with you. The problem with just telling people to go to eat it, get it from diet is that the truth is that many times you may not get enough just by eating. And number two, are you going to be eating that same thing over and over and over again? Are you going to eat that same? Let's say, for instance, okay, we'll talk about zinc. As people say, zinc is very important for the brain. But the best places to get. By the way, zinc is very important for prostate health as well. And as we know, we Black men are the kings when it comes to prostate cancer. So, but the rich sources of potassium are things like mushrooms and things like what's this thing that's in a shell again? Oysters. Yeah, oysters. So who's going to be eating oysters? So all these things are in such exotic, found in such exotic foods and drinks that you cannot guarantee that you'll be taking them every single day. And what I'm talking about is that your body and your brain need these things every single day. Very few people are disciplined enough to eat all the different foods that will give you all the different nutrients every single day. That's why I just tell people up front, just don't kid yourself and don't be pompous, because doctors especially are very pompous about it. Just eat a balanced diet and you'll be fine. That's not true. It's not true at all. And I think it's killing more people than it should. That's in my advice, that's very ill-advised suggestions. So yeah, eat your greens, eat your salads, eat your fish, eat your meat. But know this, you cannot get enough simply by eating your diet, not in this modern world. So
all right, thank you. I appreciate it.
I will just give some general opinions and advice. Get your greens, take fiber. That's very important for fiber, and certain nutrients are in your greens and your vegetables. Get your fruits. As we pass 50, we need more proteins than ever before. I'm not in favor of the vegetarian diet at all, because the vegetarian diet lacks very important nutrients that you cannot get enough of simply by going vegetarian. You need to eat for your brain, you need to eat for your heart, you need to eat for your muscles, and you need to eat for your gut. So reduce your swallow, reduce your rice, reduce your pasta, focus more on cooked things, avoid fried foods as much as possible. Focus more on cooked things. And yes, meat, if you if you want to be honest, if you want me to be absolutely honest with you, the most nutrient-dense food on the planet, the most nutrient-dense food. Does anybody know what the most nutritious food on the planet is? Any guesses?
No.
Red meat.
Who said red meat?
Red meat, no? Me, Larry.
Larry. Larry, yeah, one of the very people who have answered that correctly. Yes, red meat is the most nutrient-dense food on the planet.
But they ask us not to take red.
Not chicken.
Not chicken. Red meat. Now, that would mean it's red meat or not red meat with a hamburger, with bread, with fries, with everything. Just simple cooked red meat. It has all the vitamin B complex, has the zinc, has the iron, has everything that your brain needs. In fact, there are parts of this country where they treat dementia simply by giving them cooked red meat. So red meat has been maligned, has been talked about, and has been excommunicated from good conversation. But no, red meat is one of the most important.
So a steak meal is very healthy.
Yeah, as long as you don't overfry it or you don't overcook it. It has to be decent. Once you start burning it and you have having all those the charring and all that, that's bad. But the steak meal,
Doc.
Steak meal.
Sorry, Doc, you're treading dangerous water by going medium rare in this Nigerian group, man.
No, I never said medium rare. I never said medium rare. No. I would never say that. I order medium well over here, but I know that's not something that we can. Just make sure you don't burn your meats. That's the thing. Just don't burn your meat. Yes, Yemi said medium well. Yes, that's what I prefer. But again, sorry. Asun. Somebody say Asun. Okay. Larry, can you mute yourself? It looks like your sound is coming in through the side. All righty.
Okay, I guess there are no other questions for the doc.
I have one. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Larry. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, Doc, you mentioned zinc. That zinc is good for phosphate. That leads to my question.
Okay.
What does zinc do for the phosphate? And is it one of those things that prevents the enlargement or reduces the enlargement? And secondly, all these supplements available online that claims to help in reducing phosphate enlargement, are they true? Are they real?
Yeah, I don't know about all the other ones that they use. I can't say yay or nay, but as I said earlier, there are a lot of scams out there. All I know is that for good prostate health, your prostate, the gland, the organ that concentrates, that needs that needs zinc the most is the prostate gland. And so zinc helps, amongst other things, it helps to make testosterone. I would have to refresh exactly what it does in the prostate, but it just helps in overall having a healthy prostate. What we know is that if there's an organ in your body and it's not getting what it needs, it is going to be prone to dysfunction. So if the brain is not getting omega-3s, it's prone to dysfunction. If the lungs aren't getting enough vitamin A, for instance, it's prone to dysfunction. If the prostate is not getting enough zinc, it's prone to dysfunction and damage. So I would have to read up on exactly what it does, but I just know that it's very healthy. It's important for a healthy prostate. Did I answer? Was there another question you had along those lines? I feel I may have missed that now.
Yeah, okay. When you say good for a healthy prostate, what's a healthy prostate?
A healthy prostate is a prostate that you don't have to think about and that you don't have to worry about at all, and that part of it too. The prostate is part of where your seminal, not your seminal fluid now, some of your the ejaculation that comes out when you're doing what you need to do in the other room, in the other room. So the prostate also produces some fluids in your ejaculate. But other than that, the prostate doesn't do any. It's just there. That's why the people tend to remove it if there's a cancer, because it's not. It's, to my knowledge, it doesn't. Other than during the sex procedure, it doesn't really do anything that controls blood, controls the physiology of the body. Bimbo, do you know of anything else the prostate does? Bimbo. Okay.
Strength of the ejaculate healthy now.
Sir?
It provides nutrients for the constituents of the ejaculate, spermatozoa, etc.
It provides nutrients for the ejaculate. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spermatozoa.
For the sperm. Yeah, for the sperm. Other than that, does it do anything in terms of overall body function?
Well, it gives the urine, and if you want to bring it out, it helps with the sphincter there also. That's the anatomical function.
Yeah, I mean the urine passes through the urethra, passes through the prostates. So before you pass,
so if the prostate is loose or after a prostatectomy, keeping urine is an issue.
Yeah.
It has anatomical functions.
After a what?
It has
what is that? After a what?
When he said when you remove the prostate, and when you remove prostate, it can cause problems with urination and all that.
And retrograde ejaculation.
Retrograde ejaculation. That's a big word. That's a big word. Bimbo, don't be using big words on the show. On the
Google is your friend.
Okay.
Does retrograde ejaculation mean that the ejaculation comes No, I need to know. I'm learning.
Okay, guys. Apparently, we've actually gone about close to 15 minutes over time. And I'm sure some of us are preparing for bed already. But I don't know if there's anything quick within 10 seconds that you want to ask before we close the meeting for the day.
Yes, please, so doctor, please, just a little this thing. You said something as regards the cow meat is the best to eat.
Yes, sir.
Because most times, many of us, when we go for checkup, they say we have cholesterol, we should not be eating red meat. So now we are hearing another one again. So I don't know.
Yeah. So
watermelon.
You say what?
Thompson and his watermelon.
So this, if I may say this, so I think one of the problems that have caused issues, everything from mental health to even cardiovascular health and other conditions, has been some of the bad advice that we have been given.
Yes.
I think we've come, there's been like a 360 now in certain quarters where they say red meat, properly cooked, properly prepared, is very healthy for you. Obviously, don't overdo it, but many things that cause high cholesterol, it's not the red meat per se, it's more of the other things that come along with it, from the high sugar, the high fat, the alcohol, the fries, the swallow, and all those things. Believe it or not, this carbohydrates converts to the high triglycerides, which is a bigger problem than the cholesterol itself. These are all, they cause what is known as inflammation. But red meat in that sense does not, if it's just eaten normally, if it's just eaten separately, not with all the rice and other things, it is very, in many cases, some of the best things you can do for your brain and your body. It's hard to, because I know most doctors disagree, and the people who know and the people who are dealing with it, and they can tell you that it is not true that red meat is the bad guy here. It's the other things that are.
Okay, thank you.
sir.
Thank you so much, Doc, and thank you so much, Reverend. It's been a very, very informative day. It's been an insightful session, and like some of us have said, we would like to have you guys again, because this is something that we have to keep screwing into our heads, or like, you know, reminding ourselves about on a daily basis. Or so
Why watch it? Finish it.
we'll surely have a session of this again, maybe in another quarter or something, just with more information that, you know, might help us, because these are times that we need to be very, very watchful of our health. So once again, on behalf of the house, I would like to say a big thank you to you two. And words are not enough. In fact, there's no amount of cash we can pay you for such a session. So we can only send you all our love as to say thank you. And hopefully, I believe we will be able to get the recordings. Maybe they will release the recording for those of us who missed it. So, I mean, for everybody to learn.
So I'll send, just so you know, it's okay. Ask me for the slides, so it's okay. I can put the Google Drive link. I'll put on the platform if you guys want it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Yeah. That would be nice. So thanks for everybody who has attended too.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Salah continues tomorrow. Red meat.
I beg for the Muslims, share the red meat, share the salah.
Yes, so Dr. Agola will go meet.
Doc, you have authorized of people to go and eat meat as much as they can.
No, authority has been given now. Me and Agola will meet for folks' house tomorrow.
Just make sure that you drink agbo after that meat.
I'm going with enough from here.
Eat a nice one. Eat meat and eat fiber, please. Eat meat and fiber.
Fiber, yes, plenty of fiber.
Lots of fiber.
Again.
I'm told that reading is a very good fiber.
Yes.
Reading this outside, this thing.
Okay. Anyway.
So you guys should make this happen probably quarterly, at least 4 times a year. Let's get enough education, please. We cannot have enough of this, please. Thank you.
Yes, we surely will.
Will you give us some Igbo to take?
Igbo is in excess supply now. Just apply. I'll give you Igbo. That will not hard.
We'll give Wokocha first.
People are giving the score.
Oh, we apply. You never give me.
And Kolos. You are still on Igbo. Now Kolos I'll sell for you.
Kolos will sell for who?
We will talk about drug abuse.
Okay. In fact, you may just be preparing yourself. You are going to take us on a session of.
No, just give me 1 week's notice. Give me a week's notice so that I can prepare the slides. Not a problem.
No problem. Because some of us have to know you have to, bring samples so that we'll know the smell in the wrong environment.
I cannot share samples. I cannot share samples on Zoom now.
Don't worry. You can send it to us. We'll
no.
To know if it's
we have already test run it with Wokocha.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay,
thank you.
Good night, everyone.
God bless us.
Thank you.
Mr. T, thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Bye, guys.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.